Our productive day, and this morning we will do our presentations on what we did yesterday. We did not have to solve all the issues, but the most important issues or weaknesses that we did.
I'm your presenter for this session.
Weakness.
And it's what? It's weakness.
And how it can be solved.
Yeah, and how it can be solved, right? Something like that, internally and externally, I think. So, from what I noticed here, excuse me, and reminding me that, like I said, we have knowledge about something. So, not practicing sustainable logging due to depleted resource. What is this? The internally, right? How can it be solved internally? It cannot be solved internally, and how, right? So someone says yes, or the team says yes. So conserve. To conserve is to conserve. Right? So I'm gonna make this fast. Zone land for planting, so that is that's looking for somewhere that is the ideal spot to do that, to replant from what I've noticed. So I'm going to move on with Access LCDS, which is the low carbon development strategy, something like that. Diversify into other sectors like farming, sand, mining, and so. Am I going there?
Yes.
Provide incentives to loggers, supplement transportation costs for those who need wood for domestic purpose. So, we also came up with implement village rules.
It's right here.
You're right there.
The second.
Amigo.
The job to fire is. Yes. So implement village rules for, yeah. It is only a mess up here. Yes, and provide incentives implement transportation costs for those who need wood for domestic purpose. And so they move on with, we move on with them, sorry. Implement village rules that prohibits the felling of young trees and setting a specific size for all loggers, commercial and domestic. So they also, and then we move on to the external. So can it be solved externally? How? So the team came up with tapping funds from external agencies like NGOs and to government agencies, right? So that's it for that one. So we're going to move on to limited opportunities for educated young people. Now, the first thing that the team came up with is with seeking scholarships and sponsorships so that young people can advance their academic career. Like that one. So, and then move on with implement projects in village to include young people, where everybody can be involved. I would not want to only say youths, but everybody who is willing to be able to have that done or to be educated in that sense. So externally, internally, which is an external, yeah. So the team came up with 6 funding from external agencies to fund projects, which is always a good thing, right? So that now we will be able to get all that is needed to help us in whatever projects we want to see be fruitful. So now. So they move on, the team move on with, of course, costly transportation, if you miss schedule time of taxi, it is expense, so hire a private transportation expenses. Yeah, thank you. To hire a private transportation. Now, we came up with a PPM page utilized which was to reduce the cost for transportation from village to Georgetown, which is GP via bus. So, they also came up with relocate a hostel, which I think the hostel was from, it is at Mahika presently, from Mahika to Suicide, since the road is
since the road is more utilized
than the river.
externally.
So externally, the team came up with approach Ministry of Public Works to upgrade the road paved so that there can be a better access and constant transport. Alright? So we'll move on to the other one, which is easy access to village posts for security threat. What's this first one? No.
That's the continuation of the part.
That's continuation of from the other one. So the road is most utilized and yeah. So well, you can recognize that. So easy access to village. Access to village poses to a security threat. So the team came up with internally establish centralized checkpoint. Okay. So they also move on with block other access points by setting up barriers, dig drains along borders, and set up no passengers trespasses sign. Sorry. And they also move on with have a shift system for villagers to monitor entry of outsiders with assistance of soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah, the environment thing, right? Just really good security purposes, right? Yeah. So externally, the team came up with seek assistance from GDF, which is the Guidance Defense Force, to have armed personnel assist with checkpoint. And also they came up with seek assistance from the Ministry of Home Affairs, RDC, which is the Regional Democratic Council, to pay the security checkpoints. I think I want to work as a security. Alright? That's it. So we're moving on to reducing the original value of artistic, agricultural, and forest products, which is logs products, when taken to outside markets. Alright, so the team came up with for artistic and agricultural produce, create tourism packages to attract more visitors and include product. This will allow the locals to control the selling price. Okay. So, and also they came up with utilize ICT, how to create a website to make a marketplace to sell produce. Alright, so externally they came up with seek assistance from Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Urban Affairs to get access to more markets locally, regionally, and internationally. Alright? So, moving on to something that says inventory tools. So the team came up with establish penalties.
Yeah.
Alright. And also with VC. What is VC? Village Council? Because VC can be done. Yeah, so the village council should oversee contract between employers and employees agreeable, and enforce FPIC.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Our team is supposed to say what is FPIC.
Free
Free
fire.
fire.
But it's you, but it's like, yeah, so everything externally?
No.
No? So, majority of youths do not speak native language. This is interesting. So, institutionalize the language introduced into school curriculum by having classes 2 to 3 times a week, introduced in the other subjects. And they came up with, of course, mobilizing youth to do theory, and it's on the other page, I think. Yeah. Practical training, music, engaging and involve the older folks who knows the language, you know. I see this very interesting because this boosts this can be able to revive our culture in many ways, not only language we're talking about, but other practices in culture, which is art and craft and other things, you know. And while we have people like Sir Reading around, and like Auntie Amanda, and we have Uncle Ewan who was here on the first day. You know, for persons like those, we can be able to take the advantage while they are around, not to advantage them in a sense, but to have them as main persons, as priority to the subject which we're talking about, to have these persons to be able to educate our young people. And I like the fact that the team came up with, you know, adding it to the school so that they can have those practices and exercise going on. Right? So that caught my attention very much. So and on the external, the team came up with seek funding from MOCYS and MOAA, UN and NGOs. And I'm pretty sure that these persons will willingly be able to come on board to fund these projects. Alright, community social behavior is influenced by the city. That's a fact. And the team came up with instilling morals and values in children at home. So now, I would want to believe that I was having this conversation with someone just yesterday morning before I came out, and he was telling me that, you know, school is the only place that can be able to change our children's behavior patterns and so on. I would want to believe, and not only I would want to believe, but it is a fact that the first teacher in those children or the children's life, it comes from home. The parent is the first teacher for a child. And if we can be able to teach our children or to discipline our children at home, they will never be disciplined out there when they go out. So how can you do thing that, you know, would want to say that school will change my child when I'm not making a difference? I'm not being the change that I want to see. All right, so I would. That is very nice. I want to say that it is not school or people out there that change our children. They can change out there, but they can change for the worse, and we don't want to see that. So we can only be able, as parents, to tell our children or educate our children on what they should be and what impact their behavior can. What impact their behavior can be on them for the future, because people in itself can see, or the public can see them as, like, you know, disrespectful, and will have like zero respect for them. So we want that. We want our children to have discipline, to go out here and be some form of example, as we as parents would want to be example in our children's life. All right. So the team also came up with mobilize all stakeholders to help address the negative impacts of the outside culture. I'm not saying, I would not want to say that, yes, outside have a lot of influence on our children or in the lives of all of us. Because I myself would want to, I celebrate every culture. I dress African when it comes to emancipation. I dressed Diwali last, I dressed with like my kurta and turban, and I went and I like Diwali dias. But that doesn't mean I'm practicing that, I'm just observing. I'm being a part of guiding tradition. Culture, right? But I know who I am, I know where I'm from, and I'm proud to say that. And when that day comes, not only that day comes, but I will always proud to say that I am Amerindian, and I'm proud to be an Amerindian. Alright? Yes, Lord. So now, of course, it has a lot of impact on the outside culture and our youth, because I've seen it for myself. Not here, not only in our communities in Cuthbert, but I've seen it everywhere I go. I've traveled around quite often, and I've seen that. So also the team came up with educate people through schools and churches about the consequences of adopting the externally the team came up with stakeholders, NGOs, GRPA, MOSS, welfare and officers, etc. Adopting the other cultures. So we're moving on to products. Basic food items from Georgetown is very expensive. Yes. The team came up with agricultural context, encourage residents to plant their own food, which is always good. It's healthy to have your own food, to grow your own food. You know what your food is being grown from, you know, because some of our foods, when you put it down, you purchase it from the market and you just leave it for, just go bad on you really fast like this. So when we plant our own food, like Elizabeth, we can be able to say, I can put my tomatoes here and that won't go bad for the next 5 years. Right? So our team also came up with product, a need, conduct a need assessment. Alright, they also came up with encourage value added produce, and also have a shopping day where village boss take shop owners to purchase goods to have lower costs. Alright, so externally we came up with seeking funding from NGOs to produce. External, trader encourages competition. Alright? And why can be solved? Okay. So they came up with free trade society above price ceiling. So, right? So we'll move on to no economic activity in the village. So no economic activity in the village. Limited part-time jobs, limited numbers of drivers, jobs, opportunities. So yes, so the team came up with a resource assessment. Check for the availability of what resource is existing, natural resource and human resource. And B, they came up with develop and diversify the agricultural sector to employ young people. C, boost the tourism sector in the village. And externally, the team came up with seek capacity building and export advice from MOT, TAG, MOA, CBB, Small Businesses Bureau. Okay. At least I recognize it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Small Businesses Bureau, IPEL, and also technical assistance from NARI and NDI. So, moving on, do not have a doctor, equipment, medication, ambulance. Team came up with internally, encourage youths to pursue career, doctor in the medical field. Alright, so externally they came up with get assistance from MOH, which is the Ministry of Health, to get an ambulance, medical equipment, medication, and trained medical personnel. Seek assistance from NGOs to get ambulance and medical equipment. Alright? So, moving on with lack of leadership training, and the team came up with encourage youths to leadership roles, executive, external, internal leadership workshops for residents, especially youths, which I personally believe that everybody have a right to know what leadership and what leadership means, right? And the roles of leadership. Alright, so externally they came up with have residents, including youths, to attend capacity building workshops hosted by external agencies like MOAA, etc. Alright? No land titles. Internally has nothing there, blank. But, externally, they mentioned seek assistance from APA, which is the American People's Association. No. ELT, sorry, you are NTC. Alright, so and then moving on to pool sanitary disposal system, which is very important to a healthy lifestyle. And these are the things can affect us on a long-term basis due to the change of weather pattern and so climate change. Alright, so the team came up with host education campaigns to sensitize residents about proper waste disposal methods. They also came up with develop a waste management committee to address pollution concerns, and the deputy would have mentioned that, which is very important as well. Everything everything that is on here is important. Land assessment to identify the most appropriate location to create a disposal site considering topography. So now this is important for us because we need to get that site. If we do not have a proper disposal site, then the more polluted we may be because we keep dumping stuff all over because we do not have that site. Right? That is very important. So I'm going to move on to construct and incinerator. So incinerator. So that's for that. And is this the last? Okay. So substance use. So the team came up with host education campaigns to sensitize residents in school, community meetings, etc. involve the health personnel and policing groups. Alright, and that concludes the end of our presentation from the man's perspective.
Similar on some different points than you made this morning. Our first one here is the no village rules that are gazetted. So this, I know we've made some attempts in the past, but we need to continue with this issue and probably set up a focus group. I don't think this is something that we don't think it's something that can be done in a public meeting. It needs to be in a forum like this with a focus group that you could discuss and explore the different the different types of rules that we would need, and so in that sense we might need from the external side some external guidance, maybe a template from the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, example of what village rules would, a format that village rules might follow, and Yeah, so that's from the village that already has gazetted rules, so that you could know which areas you need to look at, because if you're just given a blank page and set to make rules, you might not really cover all the aspects that are important. So that was we might need external guidance, but we were thinking that more in a focus group workshop type setting, right? So the next one is shop selling alcohol without permission from the village council. This goes to our regulation. I know this is difficult, but if it again we don't have the village rules, so they follow on from one another. But we need to have the rules and we need to enforce them. And I guess even in the meantime, we have they're not set out in gazetted rules, but we have rules to follow, so they should be enforced. Substance abuse, I'm not sure about the elders there, but anyway, if you're not selling alcohol to minors, certainly, and addicts, and persons who are past their limit, and an education of parents, that again we were talking about I think the men were mentioning about the standards coming from the home. Right? So outsiders infringing on our village land and using our resources, that the village council would need to meet with them and discuss a way forward, and possibly look for assistance from Lands and Surveys and Ministry of Indian Affairs to get legal help if that is necessary. We're back to the language again. We know that the village council are already in discussion with UN on a project. I'm not sure the extent of that project, but alright. So to continue with that, possibly other donors, and so that's a kind of internal, external one. And also looking at the Ministry of Education to have it in the school curriculum, which we've already discussed this morning. Sports, no real training for school athletes, and the football ground that's not being utilised as opposed to the fullest. So we're looking at training and sponsorship for athletes. So we're kind of talking about the track and field here, right? Because we have already got programs in place with football, volleyball, cricket. But the track and field, that we have a lot of talent that isn't being honed or improved, because they just run in and those things, people just get up and run, but they could probably develop that skill. And we need to look at using this Western ball field more, because we have facilities there that are just stagnant. And possibly look at assistance so externally then let's seek assistance from Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. That would be to do with the training side of things. Next one, skilled people who are not certified or licensed, drivers and other technical skills. So that's like people we know are very skilled, they can do what they have to do, but they don't have the piece of paper if they want to go anywhere to get work. So we'll make use of the BIT program, which is now running in the village. Try to get the persons to be able to attend technical institutes so that they end up with it, they could have a certificate at the end of the year. And the police force for the driver's license externally. Markets for the local produce. Well, I think the men covered this a bit more extensively, but we've got one point there to add, and that's the market day, maybe revitalising the market day again. School dropouts, teen pregnancy, no interest in school but have interest in practical work or peer pressure and abuse, so all of that. Let me go back up. So we're looking at, so this is really the school dropout issue. So we would need to look at the root causes of why they're not completing school, so that they could be addressed. And we tried to think of some of those. So maybe more support from parents to help the children with schoolwork. sessions for parents so that they can help their children. So we identified the issue that was made up very apparent during COVID, that when the children were having to work at home, that perhaps the parents hadn't had the opportunity to have the education necessary. So their educational level might be lacking for whatever reason of their past, and so the parent might be willing to help the child, but they don't have the educational background to do it. Or whether it's maybe at that time we didn't have teachers in the school, maybe at that time they had personal issues, they weren't going to school whatsoever, but maybe their literacy level is low or their education level is low, so the willingness is there, but maybe they need to boost up their own education. And I don't know, did you put it somewhere about literacy and there's somewhere else?
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, it's in the next one, right? Yeah, so this was like, kind of goes with it again, right? These two are maybe the same point, but the education, or I want to put this one with the same, school dropouts. The literacy level in the school being poor, I think, personally, because I've seen it, that particularly at secondary school, if you go over to secondary school and your literacy is very low, it's going to be very difficult to be able to complete. It's bad enough. I worked with grade 6 students who have struggled to read. It's bad enough for those students going into the grade 6 exam and to try and sit that exam. Now imagine that when you reach the CXC level. So we need to look at that from the right from nursery school. By the time they go to secondary school, we shouldn't be having a literacy problem, but we do, and I think Sir could probably attest to that. But so we need to look at improving literacy in schools, and there is provision for a literacy teacher in any school that could produce one of those. So, and I know that the school have been trying to do that, so we need to maybe push on that issue. So then the other things we have here to improve education is to look at this classification where we're riverine and not hinterland, because that hinders teachers getting trained teachers and trained HMs to get the incentive to come in here and teach. And we also have identified that other than the HMs that we've had, that in recent years there's not been another trained teacher in the nursery school for a very long time. So we need to look at our nursery school teachers getting themselves trained, and that would be with the help of the Ministry of Education. Water. Some homes on the outskirts don't have access to water via the well system, so we approached GWI to expand the water system. Well, we know we've just had an expansion, but it's maybe not working to the fullest, so we need to continue along with that, continue with that project, I would say. Visitors that come in and cause problem. Well, I think the men covered this point quite more extensively than we did. We ran out of time. But basically the same thing. We need the security checkpoint, and possibly support. We have the police outpost. I think you had GDS, but I think from a security point of view, we would need somebody, one or other, to assist with that. Electricity. Homes on the outskirts don't have access to the village electricity. It also isn't an efficient and clean energy as diesel is used. So we know that the council have made the initial discussion with GPL, so we could continue and pursue GPL to supply the village with electricity. I don't think they'll be much cleaner, but anyway.
I think there's a lot, like if you want to go towards clean energy that's more like solar,
Yeah.
I guess you can consider having like solar farms. And I think one of the agencies responsible for that is Ghana Energy Agency, GEA. That's through the Office of the President. Should we do that?
Could be, yeah. Village land, I think this is a bit of an overlap with maybe our first one. But also more, so I guess this point is more about the illegal harvesting of forest products. So monitoring up by forestry officer and use of drones, and we maybe need assistance with training and support from GSC and analysing surveys. So we have the media influence, whether it's by watching movies, videos, social media. So, which the men also discuss. So we were saying that when all of a sudden we've become very able to access more media than we used to. So we would need to encourage supervision by parents. And I'm going to go to the last point and come back. So also to be aware of online scams. So I think we were discussing that there needs to be an awareness campaign, maybe awareness campaign on the dangers and the safety of using the internet. But then again, so that's the negative side of it. Parents probably need to be aware of what their children are doing and how to manage that. They have to, but they themselves also, it's very new to everybody, right? So we need to look at how we can all be safe online. That's the negative part, but then we can also use it as a tool to expand it. We can expand the use of social media to promote the village, so we started that in some ways. Or we could use it more, so instead of only taking in negative or looking at other people's culture, we could showcase our own. And single parents, we were discussing the availability of technical courses that are offered specifically for single parents, and if we can get the information into the village and then out to the parents that could benefit from that. So that's the last point, then the BC to seek information on available opportunities and share with the single parents, and possibly also access grants available. That's for setting up your own business, those are available, and technical courses or grants for setting up business. Noise nuisance well, it's actually by villagers, it's more than visitors, but the noise nuisance, again, we're going back to village rules, implementation and enforcement, and possibly needing to involve the police if the village council aren't getting cooperation for the first instance. Alright, that's it, thanks.
This is where you're now going to develop the plans, and this is the first step. If I can have you read what this says.
Visioning. Vision is the plan for the vision of the plan can change the world.
Good. So in this aspect, what we're going to do is, you have all your bright ideas in your head, right? You know what you want to see your village to look like. You have plans for yourself, for your future, for your children, but you don't have it documented. So this process is where we start in that. Now, it basically covers what we want St. Cuthbert's lecture of Kuri to look like in the future. So like I said, we may have all different ideas, perspective. We generally aspire to similar and complementary goals for our development. Sometimes your goal, what you want the village to look like, is the same as mine. So we're going to bring that together. The vision activity involves the village thinking together about what the community should be like in the future. And since we're looking at Sustainability plan is usually a 10 years plan, but you can plan for 30 years, 40 years, longer periods. So if the village has a long-term vision, they can work towards it with the focus and design to implement projects that are in line with the various needs and availability of the resources. So in this activity, what we're going to do is split you into 3 groups. So we're going to have the past, a group that represents the past. This would be the elderly, our grandmothers and grandfathers. You'll be looking at what the community used to be like 100 years ago. And for the, or let's say 50 to 100 years. Okay? The group 2, this is the parent harpy eagles. You're gonna look at what the community is right now. So just imagine yourself as the harpy eagle flying over, and you will tell us what it is like right now. And for the baby harpies, you're going to look at the future, what you want to see your future to look like in 10 years' time. So for the baby harpies, this is where you dream big. Don't limit yourself to, if we don't have resources, we don't have funding, we don't have cooperation, don't think about that. You're dreaming big. Just imagine you have all the resources, you have all the finances, you have all the support. So this is where you dream big. Alright, so this is basically for the baby harpies. You're gonna think about what you want your, what would you like your community to be like if you, like I said, have the power to make things happen? Where would people live? Where would they work? How they would get to school and workplaces? Where do they go for recreational activities? What kind of energy would be used for cooking, for transportation, for travel? Where would the energy come from? Would you still have a clean environment? Where is your food coming from? So these are just ideas for the baby harpies.
Possibilities. We had the education, the traditional aspect. We have the herbal medicine, bark, vines, leaves. Now the academic aspect of it was the education was limited due to small population. Formal education started in 1907 by Mr. Daniel He was a catechist, Anglican. There was thatch building for the school. As I mentioned, it was about 25 feet long. It was built with manifold. It had a manifold wall. The first school, and was also the place of worship. It was an Anglican. A shingle school was built with a size of 40 by 20 feet. This building was erected in 1951-52. It housed 6 classes, standard 1 to 6, with a population of 75 students. The current building was erected in 1965 and completed in 1966 with a size of 60 by 30 feet and was extended in 2005. There were approximately 12 students at that time. That was in the first school. No nursery or secondary education at that time. We used slate, and slate pencils were used by students to do their writing with. Those were like broken slates. In 1976, the church school was nationalized. Teachers were imported from the Anglican Church until 1976, only affiliated with Anglican schools. After 1976, the head teacher still came from the church, but other teachers came from Georgetown. Between 1959 and 1960, Juliana Dundas, a resident, became the first pupil teacher at Mahaika. Candidates writing the PCE, it's supposed to be PCE, had to go to Supply Mahaika to sit exams and was employed afterwards. That was in the teaching profession. Right? Mr. Hilton Beaton was instrumental in constructing the current school. I think that's it for education,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, somebody else.
Like each and every one, I for just getting our brains because they just sleeping all the time. Yeah, like we were. There was approximately 50 families. The population was between 350 to 400. Subsistence farming, the most popular was in every family have a farm to meet demand on the coast where primary forest sticks to make some sticks, while the posts are candle, paddle, and baking. Charcoal made hot spars for pasture fence. Models of transportation was canoe. The center of the village was approximately quarter miles. The cemetery was on the outskirts. Cassava was the main. Several other provisions were also utilized and abundance of fruits, fish, meat. There was frequently major big muscle, big used for building a house, a church repair, or any other community work. Food, Kanikira and pepper family were provided to the residents. Market trading system was existent. Community meeting was held under the star apple tree, while residents sit on the ground. Mud fireside and iron bar, fireside game, Balataba, wood ball, car. Is it car? Yeah. Car, wood ball, and bats. Compression around where put to play by compress around where put to play by female
Is bumpers.
Compressed Bombabal was brought Bombabal were brought to play round doors by females or tennis.
You go explain to them the difference between rounders and then the circle tennis.
Yeah, the round doors was before the circle tennis, right? The round doors is a square. And the circle tennis is a round one, but with a long wicket, you got to say, use it as a wicket. Female body was simply music was on retired band with guitar. We are not allowed to go to parties to go have to get away. We have to get away there.
Yeah.
We have to go to church and school. Community discipline was strong. Sharing the food. Yeah, the community discipline, right? It's like we never got we can't answer elder. We have to always be respectful. Then before again, we used to have to say praise before we get up in the morning. I said, good morning. You can't get up and say, you know, you just jump out and you say, good morning, ma'am. Like what I was doing nowadays. That was long time. Yeah. So when I hear about long time, everything is long time. You see, but yeah. Had to go to church and school committee because yes, this is strong. Sharing was more. What is it? Oh, yeah. Again, like we training our children, then we gotta wake them up early. Had to wake up early and before.
Those supposed to be chores.
Church, class. What is it, chores? Have to bathe by the river. That like. Long time we don't have like pipe. We have to go by the creek or the river or whatever. How we use it.
Only dispensers coming from outside once a month, and from in a lunch, and people used to fetch their medicine box from the landing so that medication can be distributed here. Because certain diseases were prevalent then, like skin disease, hookworm, and you get that from bromage, and that you can contract through the foot. Since children never wear footwear, and lice. A lot of people, I don't know if anybody is getting lice now, but that's a parasite that affected a lot of people long ago, especially the women and the children who go to school. TB was, we had a lot of cases of tuberculosis or the Cox disease, that's the other word for TB. I think that is under control now. Scabies is a skin disease. That too were diseases that affected a lot of people, but now I don't think it is so prevalent. And scabies is a skin disease. It has it affects certain part of the body, like the arm, under the breast, and between the groin. It's very, you can be scratching all the time. It's something you have to really look at, because a lot of people in the household can get it. And at that time, the dispenser used to work with a lot of things to help to curb that situation, that health issue. Diarrheal disease, which includes vomiting as well, and conjunctivitis. Conjunctivitis is an eye problem, inflammation of the eyes, and I think that was caused because of we used to play in sand, you know, and do a lot of games in the sand. We had no medical personnel, let's say, to stay at the health center every day like now. We're now fortunate, I can say, to have somebody at our health center, and we have a health worker, and I think a medics. But long ago we did not have, we were not able to have somebody at the health center. We didn't even have the health center then. And we had diseases, imported diseases like polio, measles, whooping cough, and
That's all.
Well, 63 years and at present 81 days. So I've been one of the oldest in this little forum here. So I have with me a lot of old-time knowledge, how life was when I was born, how it was after 1949 when I was born. And we've had presenters before, and I hope you listen with rapt attention. I know that life was always not like this, that you're having it now. So it's not a really, while you can enjoy the session, it's not really a joke session as such, right? It's where we go back to our traditions and to gain lost knowledge. My task this afternoon is to carry through the culture, the tradition aspect of it, and this deals with medicine. I'm surprised that I have such a short task. Well, medicine, you heard the nurse say also, we were kind of, we suffered from a lot of some skin disease, you heard it, the scabies, that's an itch mite, right? When it burrows under the skin, it bites. And it gets into the soft parts of the body, the cleavages of our bodies, the arms, the legs, and so on. So for that, and like korema was plenty too, right? When the boys play the grass, it knocks korema on the testicles and so forth. And the little girls around here, all in a little half slip on so and korema plenty, then go home afternoon. Mother got to pick all the korema because long here in the school was grass. So plenty korema. Grass slush.
The last big one?
Yes. So for that we had like barks like cashew bark, jamun, rakama bark, botwood. Botwood was the main man, right? You boil it and you get it lukewarm and you get rid of scabies and the korema.
Sorry.
The sunmora, this is a poisonous tree, the sunmora. And if you drink that, you shake up a little bit and then you fall down. And you know it's what, right? Right. Package, right? Yes, and then you have the capadula. We heard about the capadula. Well, in Arabic it's kabudulu. Kabuduli. The capadula is a corruption that the English gave it coastal people. But kabuduli is really the capadula. And kabuduli has aphrodisiac qualities, if you understand what the word means. When the man is low, they can go to that. They can drink the wine, you can boil it and set it as wine. It is as tea, strong, right? And so, yes, you can have strong hopes of some resuscitation or vines like carrier. Carrier would be good for when after there is a sickness we call in Arawak when the ladies postnatal carrier, we call it sorima. Where the lady would get fever, she would vomit, she get headache, and the baby can nurse properly. And they would give you a carrier steam bath, and carrier water to drink. Usually the pink ones are used for drink and the white ones are boiled with other meals, like the betatali and so forth, uribali, and they put you over a big karahi with a stick to stir, and you sit over there 3 times like that. You go to bed, you sweat out all the sorima that you have. Sorima is in the postnatal illness that the ladies would have. And so, I don't think the younger sections of our female generation have gone through that. Mr. Tali, Uribali, you did it. You have monkey ladder, that is also. And Kakshan, right? It's a bad one, right? These are also like the capadura. That mixture is a terrible combination.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's some humor about it, right? This sarsaparilla. So the guys who would have gone into the interior like the Kayuni, like myself, would know what sarsaparilla and Kakshan and Capadura would be. They're big like that. In the Kayuni and the Mazroni, you know. They back and check it up on the region. The granny back one, another bad one, right? Carry crow bush, turupam ite. Now, carry crow bush, we use that in the steam bath as well. Where the turupam has like at least about 3 values for us here. We can make cocoa with it, we make tea with it. That's the fruit alone, right? And we can make necklace with the seeds, right? The seeds are very light when you take out the thing, but that takes a lot of time. You will have to have that. The ite, we know what ite gives us. I think we know the ite palm is a very, very versatile palm, and we have about 5 or 6 valuable things from it. So, you know. We have craft, and we have in the category functional craft, hammock making. It took us a long time to get bed here. I think I was the first one to have a bed. When I was teaching in St. Francis, when I came around to village, I bought a bed. Oh, my grandfather had one before, and I think grandmother still. You know why? I saw them fetching it from the landing. That thing you have to fetch everything from the landing. So everybody saw that little Leland, sharp Leland had a bed too, right? But we had a lot of hammocks in those days. 5, 6 hammocks. So this, and we are in proximity about this, right? With what I call it? Dirty powder cloth netting, thick netting. When you go inside there, you have to make sure you're going there with 1 o'clock because it's sweating bad. Temehe. That's when the people go to mosque and you have a crier child. Kaiweli, in our work we say, child who like to cry, you put them in the tele. And you can, I know a lot of Kaiweli in this place, so she didn't go up there. Then we have Warish, everybody knows why I know Warish. Quail, matapi, fan, abab, sifter, basket, arrow and bow. We call them functional because we make a living out of them, right? It's part of our life. If we don't have matapi or a fan, like grandfather Kaka say, man, you shouldn't be by that means you don't know where the ichichi is, the mokro. You must learn to weave. Right? They don't want to learn you sometimes, right? I remember an old man wearing a marker, and a big marker like this, the whole big like this, right? And he got a harlot. He ain't got time to make, because you have to get gouges to make this thing, right? So most people had it, but 1 or 2 didn't make the time. So, you know, it was an embarrassing thing, they could pull this thing out, and they put it in like right to the taking a whole 2 hours. So it was not easy to make the food. So we had matapi, fan, haba, sifter, arrow, and bow. You know what those things mean to us? Maswa. That's a long thing to make. Put it in the water, the fish goes in, and the fish does not reverse gear, right? So you can't swing around back. What? Then we have adisa. That's the hollow thing, like half of a canoe that we grated. The haku, the stick, the spear, cotton spinning, kiruduri. The old lady would wake up and get the cotton yarn, and you hear them early morning, right? And that's when the storytelling starts, or the spinning the straw on their legs. And with the young girls, when they initiating them, oh, you're sorry for them. Because here, if they're right-handed and right leg, and the spin, it bruises, right? It catches things, and after a time they get a little gray, dark gray thing on the leg, and after that it's cured. So you hit them in the mouth. You should have been out. You should have been out. But no, courage to have been courage to have they come up, you know, courage to. So you see, that's no joke. When you see the girls that will say, "What happened to like my tack?" You know, they should have been out there, you know, spinning all the time. That's to be serious. The bike have to learn to cut the can't, if they know how to fling the axe, they got to learn to cut them, climb those eat trees. Some of them fall up, goop in the I remember myself losing down from one, you seen a library upstairs, right, when I was small. Down, right? Looking at the place was soft. It took me a long time to come out from there. Yeah, Malabar, a nice Malabar. So you had fruit bowl, skirt, mosquito brush, white catcher, hair rolled up, nice thing here, like the Hawaiian girls, beads and necklaces. That is how we think. Now in the 1950s and 1960s, the majority of the people around here spoke native language, Arawak, others spoke Taki and Creole. Maybe that was 15% or 20%. But 80% of our people have been speaking Arawak. Everyone are able to understand the native language, learn language through storytelling. Folklore.
What's Taki? What's Taki?
That's a Creole. And I mix it up with Arawak. You come here, Bante, you have, for them to understand. So like a Creole, like a patois, right?
I think they also refer to like the Creole Duchess from Kentucky.
Well, the Creole English will say, come here, Bante Yaha. They don't understand too quick. They say, Bante Yaha. So start about come here, bye. Bante Yaha here, sir. Come here, little girl. Bante Yaha, what is this, come here, little boy. Bakana bako the shimaki mo come na bay, come the shimakabu. So the Arawak mix up with the little Creole, right? Folklore. Good. Maracada. That's when before you go on, Kawachi front, me and shake up this thing.
So here's the last one. You just speak about the thing, language, the storytelling.
Oh yes. Sorry about that. Learn language through storytelling. I told you that the hammocks were slung like this. When they wake you up in the morning around 4 o'clock, you got to wake up. Banaba. You wake up, hey, and they start telling you these stories now. Banaba, courage, you have it. You get wife, right? You 10 years, and so they telling you about wife. Manabarka, can Kaskouchkin the book, and Hanakwa Mariki da have the fuji, Hanakwa Karasab the fuji. That means you're going to get plenty scratch on your leg, on your belly. When you open up, so they're going to laugh because that is the spirit of the Hanakwa, scrape your belly. The girl, that was equal to the girls as well. You will hear all the old time stories, who catch the biggest Lokonani, some lines pass through there as well. The lie, like when you leave the morning, and sometimes when the old people, they will be telling the story, like Foster reminded me that when they can get up 4 o'clock and light the speakeasy, right? You call it the speakeasy, the kerosene lamp, and they escape, but they frighten the Kanaima, so they want somebody to gather for them. So through that, now you hear a lot of stories, right? You got a little sense to it. Okay? And like when Bambali time come and you idle around the place, which was scarcely done. What did you happen there? You had like old Telo, called the biggest Okorani. It's about 4 feet, I don't know what kind of hook he catch with. But the hooks I wouldn't catch that kind of Okorani. Maracada, and the shak. And they had an old man, my grandmother told me, old Kalau. Now watch it front. When he tell you to go and hunt overside, and you go without him, and he tell you don't go. One time she told me that he carried I think 3 or 4 huntmen. And I was telling my birthday just now, over in the region 5 side. Well, we don't have region that time. They call it Maikonipa at the time, right? Maikonipa side. And they gone, and he tell them they could kill, I think, 2 EAC, they could get 2 EAC, and they would kill 4 bird any type, maroon, demam, or what. And they gone say, man, don't worry, man. People becoming a little, rude and so on. Don't worry, man. And he told them 2 EAC, and they went on the 3rd EAC, and then suddenly they hear something, ding, 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 ding. Something, the ground started dancing, and then a sudden thing like a thunder, and they had to leave the shovel and everything, or they would shovel and run away and catch their the EAC and the 2 or 3 men that they get, they have to leave and come. And when I come and report, Hamad Hanika, who said Olivelia Jahaji, gone over the man's the man's instruction. Bako, hey, they're no good, that could have homo. I told you that break your neck, right? And they never tried it again. That's no exaggeration. told at social functions, home and farm, told in the morning, and 2 stories, they would find 2 stories to tell you during the week. Gradually that kind of thing died out. As the old people died out, our storytelling also died with them. And the grandfather Polimanto, right? He would come up, I remember him, he was a Rickery command, and he would say, Leland, why you think the dog ain't like the meat? That be possible? Why do you think the dog ain't like the meat? I said, man, I know he can't get. No, he like the bone. He said, because he can't get the meat, that's why he like the bone.
I know the food part. In those days, it's not like today. You know, we eat like we eat curry chicken and rice and dal and all these things. There was only cassava bread then. That was the main staple diet that we used, right? And from the cassava bread, the stuff that they back when they sift to bake the white cassava, that would be back, you would leave it for some time and then you would pound it again, mix it with the starch, and you would get the caroli, what we call the caroli, right? Like the brown one, like starch, like the sweetest part of the cassava bread. And we also have our sukkah, that's the fresh baked one, like when you just grate and you mat it, you can, you just sit it and you bake it fresh like that, right? You get our sukkah, and with that you can eat that right away with the tapota, like the froth of the kale. When you boil the kale, the froth would come up and you would scoop that out, and that would be a special sauce, I would say, right? So, and then the cassava water that remained there now, right? We could also boil that down to the bottom, and we get the cashew. That's the cashew, that's the red cashew that we get. Other than that, we could use the watery form also to make our tomapat and things like that, right? And that's what we call the katikuro, right? And the arawak, which is the pepper pot. So with the pepper pot now, you can get the warapot, that's a small sort of like yarrow fish, right? No, that's the warap.
Yeah, that's
The
right.
cane juice. So sorry about that. Yeah, I'm speaking about the drink now. The beverage that we take part of is the warap. I've never taken part of that. I've not known it that much in this village, but I know like in Maraikabai, they does it a lot there, the cane juice, so they call it the warap. Right? We know about the paiwari. The paiwari we call the bambali, right, which we drink, and there's also the next one that they buy, the kasiri, right? I haven't seen that here. That's supposed to be there. And we also have the refreshment that we make that you can drink, right? Like when you work with the hot sun, like how you drink Kool-Aid or you drink mix and things like that, we used to call it belchuri, right? The belchuri that you mix with it, and it's also like a meal that you partake of when it's like my brothers in the Rupununi, they have what they call with the farina mix, they call it shibig, right? But we as Arawak know ours as the belchuri, right? So we have the ite ball also. Oh yeah, here we have the kasiri now, right? The kasiri. We have the torti, which is so refreshing of a tea, which sometimes I do think about it. So I speak about the Marakaman, and I know this Marakaman, he was really good, right? Because sometimes I wonder, how did my ancestors really get the knowledge to just get this lukewarm water to scald this to that it can become soft. So all this was known through the Marakaman, right? That we can put it in half warm water and you can get, I know first time when I was small, my granny had some toro and I brought a friend along and I boiled the toro, right? Thinking that they want to get in 4 o'clock and anything. And she finally said, why good? I said, well, I boiled the toro, I guess not. I didn't know that you have to, put the lukewarm water, right? So, to get the toro tea, right? And then the ite juice, the ite juice is something that is a special thing for us here too, which costs a lot in our community here, right? The meat, while meat was a lot in those days,
You know, like, I think North Amanda said in those days, we never used to sell like out today. We don't sell meat, we used to just give away meat. You know, I give you meat, you give me what you have, what we call barta, right? You have bush cow, hog, lava, akuri, deer, yesi, which is the armadillo, monkey. I remember eating monkey when I was small, you know, because my grandmother, she used to eat anything and everything, right? And she tell me, well, I got to eat it, although as a young man, I didn't please eating it. Even alligator, she forced me to eat. Alligator is today can't even eat, right? Turtle, and also eel. So all these were part of our diet as in those days gone by. And the bird, we have marudi, right? You know the marudi, the powies, young parrot, dove, pigeon, mom, right? These are the birds that we, you know, kill and eat. You know, like North Amanda was saying, she remembered when they're looking for the parrot now, and they, you know, you cut down the tree and the tree fall down and the young parrot died. Before you throw it away, you roast it and you eat it, right? And she may not be near the rest today. Even with the dog, they would hunt the dog and roast them and keep them, right? Yeah. Pigeon, mom, fish. Start speak about the tailor catching the big lokanani, right? So we have lokanani, hori, patwa, kabarishi, sunfish, lokanani slave, imiri, wabere, long tail. What's the long creek?
The other one is the long creek.
I think that's
Long tail.
long tail. I think. And the tiger fish, you know the tiger fish, you rarely get it now, but you know long time, I know the fishermen used to catch those fish more often than today. As I know grandfather Joel used to catch the tiger fish, right? But our dance, the traditional dance, it's not like today how you dance, and even today people dance, you've not seen their head. You might only see their bums in the air because of the dancing is modern dance. The dance was like Mari dance in those days. Right? That's our traditional dance. Where you had the bakwata and then the dance. And then I remember being a part of that. The monkey dance. Right? Behaving like a monkey, and you know, that time they have the band playing the natural instrument. Right? We have Grandfather Kulima playing the violin, and Grandfather William Cummins, and Titus at the banjo, and Pakri started since then. You think Pakri did just now, he doesn't, right? He did since those days, like monkey dance and the Bimichi, Horror, right? Music. Banchikili. So could you explain about that?
Basically means the one that is loved.
The one that is love the
The one
music?
that is liked.
Yeah.
Is a male.
Okay.
Basically is the one that's like popular by.
Okay. It's not. Yeah.
Basically.
Yes, musical instrument in those days was banjo, right? The maraca, that is the shak. The same thing that the maraca man communicated to his spirits, right? When he's doing his work or whatever you would call it. So there's the maraca they used to use then. When they had these shak that they have today, they had to make it from calabash and get the handle to go in and put in some black and red seed or buckwheat inside, right? So we had the song. We had the box guitar and the raka violin, rika, right? Animal skin drum. I'd get some hollow wood and get it in and get the animal skin over it. The quattro, right? It's something probably like the banjo, right? Or string instrument, right? And the flute, that's what you blow, right?
Environment, nature, heavily forested. Yes, we had, because of the population, or the village was just around quarter of a mile, but that's it, right? So? Yeah, just around here, so we end up being forested right around the area. We had trees and plants. We had kabakali, and I think those would have in the new generation now as we die out because of the logging. white cedar. Indeed, we have a lot of white cedar still remaining. Walaba. Back in those days, Walaba was just, you don't have to reverse the trunk, just fetch across and start in the house. Nakama, Barada. Barada is what we call Baroda. I used to call it Baroda. Is a wood we used for firewood back in those days. It's a special wood. Tarinero. We still have tarinero that we use for our building. Bullet wood. Bullet wood, most of you may not know the bullet wood because not much we had back in those days. I could remember, we used to make a craft in school. Burwe. Burwe is the Arawak word. Turaro. Turaro, I guess most of you may not know it. Sugar wood, you know it in sugar wood. It's a special wood. If you can't get a wood, you can't build a house. Used to build house frames, manifold. Today some of us still using the manifold to build a house. Well, I say that the land, which is something really good to preserve. Marishibali, corn tree. Most of you may not know the Marishibali. Some of us still know it as another wood we use for firewood. You can use it either when it's dry or when it's wet because it's a wood ready to ready to heat up the pot at any moment. Used for firewood and water. We also use part of it as the old folks used to strip it. I could remember in Uncle Red's area. In fact, around the area, my aunt over there, I'm sure she had a kitchen with that water. Kurwachi. I was learning about the Kurwachi from Sor. We use that for dye. That was the fastest rather than get to the store and buy your food, your coloring to color the craft. We know where the Kurwachi was and we go and get a couple piece. I think it gives 2 colors, is that so?
When it's really young, it's
red.
When it's fully ripe, it's deep purple.
Yeah, so that is what back in those days we used for to decorate the craft. We have the anato, and I could still see the anato still around. Bakupushi. Bakupushi is the word that we call it in different names. Crook. Yeah, the lager is like I'm sure she's not around. We use it for farm boards to do construction. Baramali. The Baramali that is still being used today in the plywood factories, but back in those days, we used to use its skin to make up. Even the floor, I could remember, just back at the Ballfield, Eastern Ballfield, they had a house from the Freitas family. Sir?
Yes.
Yeah. And I could remember they had a party in there and they had a mushroom and they used this Baramali skin for the floor and the wall, and they had a party after the mushroom. Where is the mushroom? And tomorrow we had about 6 casualties because the dancing was so much in the footpath. So they had the dance cherry bruised up and say, However, back in those days, we used to use that. Kairibali, another fast fire ignition wood. And I guess today, most of that has been lost also because of lumber. I can remember we used to, my parents used to take us not too far away from where we are in the present with a quick or a warshy and you go in and hunt for these wood. Because these wood is the fast firewood, green or dry. So when you use the wood now, your pot, you don't have much work to do on the pot and so forth. That's the Kairibali. Warashibali. Warashibali is another wood that has been lost because of the logging, but back in those days. Kaparali. Kaparali is still around. I see some of the checkpoint here, but it's not growing too big as it used to be. Papuri tree. Those of you who heard about the papuri tree was a wood that we used back in those days to make canoe. Special wood. That's it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Wildlife.
Okay, sorry. Okay, wildlife, you still could find some bush cow. Back in those days, we used to find it a lot. Hog, the hog used to be right around the farming area. Today we have to end up going far distance. Lava.
Can I interject you a little bit? We forgot some of the story. They had a cycle here every 5 years or so.
Oh
The
yes.
hog they used to pass through.
Yes, yes.
And they used to run up in the house, in the homes and the flat houses in the kitchen, and even ladies would kill their hog. There was that kind of a 5 year cycle, 4 or 5 years. I remember grandmother said we killing one with a mortar stick right in the kitchen. All over the place you would see. And you know what
Jump right in the bus.
yes. You know what would have brought them there? Because you still had feed along Taylor Creek coming beside, like the young moor trees and so on. They like to eat those things and they come. When they meet them,
Deer, Yesi armadillo, monkey, alligator, turtle, eel, jaguar, and eaters, giant and small. Otter, kibigi, abuya, fox, grey and brown. Sloth, baboon. Marudi, powis, young parrot, dove, pigeon, mam, macaw, hawk, falcon, kiskadi, blue saki, toucan, vultures, fire red, old witch, barbara, crane, lokanani, huri, patwa, kaburishi, sunfish, lokanani slave, iniri, wabure, long tail, long tail, tiger fish, yarrow.
the name of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Now the speaking on governance, led by captain and captain. Right? Captain or captain at the time, selected in the beginning of the church. Position held until death. Hierarchical position passed down to eldest son. Sir, please elaborate quickly on that part.
Yeah, the eldest son would take, after the incumbent captain dies, the eldest son will take over. If the eldest son refuses the position, the second the second son takes over.
Okay.
So the first captain was appointed by the church.
Yeah, by the church. So it continued hierarchical through Johnson, the eldest son. And they had, after Charles died, you had Johnson, his eldest son. When Johnson died, you had Jonah, the other son. And Jonah didn't like the job. He stayed 2 weeks because he was temperamental. When he shoot up on the raft, he shoot up on the thing and so on. He said he might shoot somebody, so he left the position. Go ahead.
Okay, moving on. 2 males. We had 2 male leaders at that time. One, Uncle Emmanuel Bernard, and his deputy, Mr. Arnold Douglas. Right, they were the 2 male leaders at the time. And 2 senior ladies. Very old individuals, I don't even know, I know that true story. Auntie Sarah Angelina Douglas, who's my grandmother, right? And Auntie Estelle Simon. They were the 2 senior ladies with these two men at the top there at the time. Right? So as you can see, there was not a big group of leadership at the time because the community was very small as well, the population. Yes. Yes, good. Thank you very much.
And we are the adult Harpy Eagle. We look at education. We have 3 schools, nursery, primary, and secondary. We have a library, Board of Industrial Training, ICT Hub. We have the internet access for online training, digital signal, school feeding program, breakfast. Person who provide private lessons, proper infrastructure for schools. Dorms. We have 3 HM quarters, 1 ICT hall, Bennett, school kitchen, 5 churches, 1 Sunday school, 3 pavilion, 3 public washroom, modernized houses, village office, craft shop, youth center, village barn, water trestle, guest house, health center, generator house, pharmacy, log cabin, police outpost, 4 guard huts and washrooms, 2 bridges, 40 plus shops, electricity, 140 plus household supply by the village generators, school, health center, well hub, youth building, personal solar panels, Park street lights, 4 floodlights, agriculture, 2 plows, 2 chipper, 1 tractor and trailer, 1 backblade, 30 farmers. In the farmers group, 1 extension officer, 1 chainsaw. Health, 1 medics, 1 health worker, 1 certified pharmacist, adequate health equipment, human resource. We have teachers, sculptors, hunters, artists, dancers, pharmacists, medics, guards, health workers, cleaners, electricians, engineers, drivers, operators, chainsaw operators, cook, chef. Cook, chef, seamstress, cosmetologists, farmers, loggers, fishermen, Hannah from Guyana, shopkeepers, herbalists, and you said IG, I think. Yeah, IG.
My task is to continue the presentation from natural resources. In our community, we have sun, forest, product, fish, wildlife, wild fruit, creeks, rivers, wildlife, wildlife, yeah. Transportation. On the transportation, we have cars, bus, actually the buses because they have trucks, boat, canoes, canter, outboard engine, tractor, and trailer, bikes, and bicycle. Groups, we have 3 culture groups, PTA, sport clubs, sports gears, 2 playgrounds, farmers group, tourism, and food. We have 40 houses in the houses team, musical instrument, tourism sites, private guest house, BG Eco Lodge, and cemetery. We have hydromet field station, play park, and elected official and councillors.
So under the guest house, we have the village one too.
The private guest house and the village guest house.
You have private guest house, do you? The village one.
What we would like to see as youngsters for the future for our kids. That's our kids, you know, they're still stored in our bag so that when they come, you get it for them. Alright, so start off with agriculture. We need more food for the growing population, which is evident. Every year we have a growing population. Agriculture processing facilities, for example, bottled pepper, wine refinery facility for both plant-based and animal-based food. So as the population grows, more food will be required. Also, like I mentioned, sort said back in the days when all this produce, well, some of them went to waste because they couldn't eat out everything. So instead, we will want to see agricultural processing facility to process these foods and have a longer lifespan for them. All right, and because the world is developing and so on, these things are sold in a processed manner, bottled, packaged, and so on. Also, this year will provide job opportunities which will come at a later date. Large-scale farming to supply the processing facility. Obviously, if you have to get a processing facility agriculture-wise, we would need farmers. So, in order for that to happen, a lot of large-scale farming would have to take place in the future. We also like to see an established village market, which would bring togetherness in the village when villagers go to the markets. Back in the days, I was fortunate to see we had market days on weekends, but somehow the other that was not maintained and upkeep. But that's something that we would like to see come back in our community so that we can support our local farmers right in here. Instead of having the bus or the minivans come in and supply the community. That year, once you have the village market established, it encourages farmers to come on board and cultivate and till the soil. Right? So I continue. Health. So from the health center, like I said, our analysis was based on population and so on. So we said that as it grows, we have health centers to be upgraded to a hospital, right? Where we can have our own doctors, medical workers, nurses, and so on. And we can cater for any emergency, all right? Have our own doctors, like I mentioned, nurse and other health staff, and also ambulance. We also see that our medevac team to get patients out from the forest or outskirts of the village. When I say medevac, you may have emergencies. Well, from time to time we would have emergencies whereby our residents would be need to evacuate it from the forest in a proper manner. You don't want to risk your life out there, time span, and how to handle these emergencies. Like for example, we had an instance recently where Uncle John, who's got Uncle Dayo, from the scheme, he was injured and he was fetched with a hammock. He was laying in his hammock and a few men fetched him out from the back dam, and he was bleeding. And who knows if it took longer, what further damage could have happened, right? Yes. So those are just some points we come up with. I know there are a lot health-wise. Education. He said that a bigger school, a bigger modernized school with smart classrooms, more trained teachers who are specialized, introduction of more subjects. So the world, it's not about math, English, social studies, science, agri, and PE that we are preparing these teenagers to go into the world of work with. It have a wide variety of subject areas, skilled areas they can go into. So as our population grow, we would need these skilled persons to go out into society and to have them right here and stay within would be a plus, and we maintain our human resource in our community. Alright, a well-established library to have our children their literacy must be on par. Reading, research, and finding evidence and so on. So in order to have that done, you must have a library, which we have one, but we want to have a better one, an upgrade. When you look at the shelf, you must watch the like orange side, and you just walking through, see what section you need, and so on. Right? Computer literate students and villagers. It's a modern world. It keeps modernizing. More and more there's a lot of technological advancement, and we're heading a world of technology. Soon there will be a toilet, probably would be invented, and you don't have to do anything. All right. So it's important though, because a lot of jobs and so on, it requires having basic knowledge of a computer or a laptop, and in order to keep up, we need to be computer literate. All right. We also set at vocational training center for students who are more interested in practical work. Example: catering, home economics, business, carpentry, mason, sewing, hospitality, event planning, outdoor weddings, all these things. You would need a training center, one that is permanent and stays, because not everybody here in our community will be, inclined academically. You have the skill, the ones who like to be practical. They rather the practical work, like myself. Although I'm a teacher, I'm not really into the theoretical part of things. I love practical, right? I find a pleasure in doing things, and there are a lot of youngsters here who, falls in that same category, right? They rather do practical work. And it will be nice to see we have youngsters in the carpentry area, the mason and so on, young people building buildings. Also, as our population grows, a daycare or preschool would be very useful. You would have busy people going to the factories, the agriculture processing facility, and you won't really have time to look after kids during the working hours. So a daycare or preschool, you can have them there once they're licensed, and they take care of our kids while we are at work. All right. Next person. Yeah. All right.
Yes, I'll be giving tourism. Develop the land by develop the land to be more attractive and make it an official village attraction. Right? By doing this, we can attract more visitors and so on. Right? So tourists and so forth. Maintain our clean environment. By maintaining the environment, it's going to show a good impact on the village, right? So when visitors and tourists and so on come into the village, they can be in a clean environment. Beautification of the environment with signboard, nice seated area, name bridges and roads, more street lights that are environmentally friendly. By doing this, by setting street lights and so on, we're going to be more safe, right? Safe. Also with bridges on the road, like in terms of bridges, like we have, two main bridges in the community. Like we can name the bridges, like for instance, if we can name the bridges, we can name it like the Kingston Bridge, right? For instance. So like when people come, visitors and so on come, they're gonna have that moment there, nature parks, modernized hotel and traditional guest house, where you can experience adventure at its best. Alright? So this hotel, as we
Two different.
yeah.
We need modernized hotel and then
Modernized hotel and traditional guest house. So when visitors and tourists come, they don't want to really be at a modernized hotel, right? Some of them might want to be at a traditional guest house. Alright? Different tourism. Establish hiking site and historical site. For example, the Pakul tree. Right? With the Pakul tree, whenever tourists and so come in the community, right? They want to know where do we get the name Pakul from, right? And we residents, right? We want to show them where we get the name from. Not only show them, we must have that that history from the tree to tell them where we get the name from. We plant a tree, old windmill site where we used to pump water. All of these here are like landmarks. We have them as landmarks. Also, they are historical sites. For instance, the old windmill there. It's been there over a couple of years now, I can say. I don't know, but it's been there a while. So, train and sort, yeah. Train and sort, site tour guides, boat captains, drivers, managers. So as we speaking about in the future, right? For 10 years from now, as we develop more, we can have our own gas station, right? That's a big man right now, right? So as you can see, there's a number of people patrolling here, up and down. So for the gas station, we can have a reasonable price. Yeah, going forward. The supermarket, that's the next thing in the community. So, we can have a hardware store, right? Retail and wholesale business suppliers who can supply small businesses. This cuts transportation costs to travel to GP and back. The supplier will have an arrangement with the business. Water. Develop water system with access to all households during the day and night by having at least 2 wells. With the water system, I can say like this one, we do not want to have like when they turn on the water, you don't want like half of the community side having one water alone. But when they turn on, like the whole community in general must have water at the same time, right? So by doing this, the whole community in general will be getting electricity 24/7, like Mr. Avinash said, right now, it's in the budget. So yeah, somebody, I don't really want to touch on that. Yeah. Village office is modernized with semi-cultural constructed. Village assists in one centralized area that is well secured. Right, we wanna upgrade the village office. Right, we're going to make it in a modernized way, and also a cultural way. We don't want to have it like you can see a whole traditional way, but we're gonna have it like a modernized and a cultural way, right? So when people come, they're gonna at least show like it's gonna show like the traditional. Well,
Construct a village asset. Village assets in one centralized area.
yeah, finish it. Modernizing things. Sports. Modernized sports facility to play first-class cricket, football, volleyball, basketball, etc. Specialized with 2 sports grounds to facilitate different sports. One field for football and one track and field. The other for cricket and volleyball facilities for indoor games. Right with the first one, say modernized sports facilities for playground. You wanna have like the first class field, right? You can have like floodlights and you can entertain a lot of people and so on. We wanna have the first class, right? Facilities for indoor games. We wanna have a indoor facility where we can host indoor games like dominoes. We can have like basketball. We can have like tennis and so forth. Sports gym. recreation area with playground for children. Coaches for all the sports teams. Right now we have football domination in the village, right? You know, it's a popular sport, and we need coaches in the community, right? Cricket as well, also volleyball.
Somebody else? Yeah. All right.
Balance development with culture, right? With the development that you're speaking about, right? It's not like we're gonna make culture die away or tradition die away, right? At least we're gonna keep the culture still going, right? Aside with what the village used to be, we're gonna have a site that is built to showcase what the community or the village used to be. Right? So when people come, they're not just going to come into a modernized place or community. They're also going to come and see what the village was like before. And add more items to the culture. Host St. Cuthbert's Expo with only local drinks being on sale. Camping and hiking activities, hunting and sport. Right? This St. Cuthbert's Expo is gonna attract a lot of people, you can see, right? It's gonna attract a lot of people, tourists, right? We're gonna have our guest house or hotels and so on. The tourists when they come, and visitors, they're going to stay at those facilities, right? So our small business people, they are also going to play a part in the St. Cuthbert's Expo. Special hall museum with all the past to show and information on the history of the village.